So where did my advocacy begin? Well, it began with my diagnosis with currently incurable colorectal cancer. As a scientist, I knew there were limitations of chemotherapy, and so I knew that from my vantage point, a clinical trial should be somewhere in my clinical treatment plan, somewhere down the road. So I went to clinicaltrials.gov and I typed in colorectal cancer, interventional trials only, and only open trials. And I got 1,200 hits. Now, as an oncology drug discovery scientist, I didn't know where to start with 1,200 hits. I mean, where do you even begin? And I very quickly realized that imagined being a patient with no scientific background, who's probably depressed, who's probably stressed out with a very dire prognosis. What would they do with 1,200 hits? Well, I'll tell you what they do. They become deer in headlights. They don't know where to begin. I'm not going to belabor the points of the issues with clinicaltrials.gov because it's very well known, but just to look at a couple bullet points. First of all, it misses potential trials due to poor annotation, and it also gives a lot of inappropriate trials. I guarantee to you there were not 1,200 appropriate trials for me to consider as a colorectal cancer patient. It also overloads options, once again 1,200 hits, without giving any guidance. Now, if you're a patient at a good place like UCSD, you're getting a lot of clinical trial guidance. But a lot of patients are in the local oncology environment, and many of them are getting little to no guidance from their oncologist for clinical trials. So even if they're interested in clinical trials, they don't know where to start. And so they're kind of on their own. And these patients that are interested in clinical trials waste a lot of valuable time while the prognosis clock ticks and trying to figure things out on their own, going online, and a lot of them simply give up. Now, a lot of you know that the trial participation rate is very low for adult solid tumors. It's about 3%, which I think is just a travesty. And there's a lot of reasons behind that low participation rate. But I strongly believe that one of the reasons is that it's very hard for patients to navigate the clinical trial system, this being overloaded with very complicated information. So both I, as a patient, and later on as an advocate for other patients, felt there's a need for a better system of real-time information transfer about clinical trials. And I'm going to briefly describe two projects I've worked on, and these will be discussed more fully in the panel format. The first is looking at clinicaltrials.gov. I helped develop with two collaborators, CC Maya Walker and Jana Downing, a new patient portal specifically for colorectal cancer clinical trial patients. That's a curated clinical trial list. And I really did this with a patient focus. What would a stage 4 patient be most interested in terms of clinical trials? Well, we'll just look at it logically, without even a scientific background. They're interested in trials with the highest potential hypothetical benefit, or some sort of reduced risk. And they want something as easy as possible to use, so a phone-based app format. Now, as I mentioned, many are being treated in the local oncology format, where local oncologists don't necessarily know the latest drug code numbers or the latest pathways. And so it includes links to literature for them to print out PDFs for their oncologists. And it's updated in real time. And it's currently active as of about a month ago. Now that gives you a list of trials. It's a curated list. It's no longer 1,200 hits. It's a more manageable list, but still just a list of trials. So what does the average patient without a scientific background do with a list of trials? There's still a lot of confusion and a lot of intimidation. So along with collaborators Erica Hanson-Brown and Lita Withers, about a year ago, we started something called the Colon Town Clinic. It's a private Facebook community, and it's Facebook format. And within it are discussions in real time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, exclusively about colorectal cancer clinical trials. When a trial starts, when new data comes out in a publication or in a scientific meeting, we have full meeting coverage through a network of volunteers. We upload that data to the website. And we have to upload publications and preprints for their oncologists to download to the patient. Now, of course, this is very intimidating to the patient. They're not scientists. This is information overload. So what really is a key differentiation is we have a scientific expert panel. Who are these people? These are volunteers. I'm one from drug discovery. We have a couple professors of T-cell immunology who explain immunotherapies. We've had a professor of genetics to explain genetics. We have someone who's recently very high up in the NCI in the clinical trials program to explain clinical trials in general. We have a director of research oncology pharmacology at our major research institute. And they all volunteer. And what they do is they offer personalized, layperson, conversational explanations of all the information that's uploaded. So in the Facebook format, patients post questions, and the corresponding most appropriate scientific expert then goes in and answers the question. And so right now, it's been going on for over a year. We have, as I said, a scientific expert panel, as well as a full list of operational admins to really keep the whole thing running really, really smoothly. So this is the last slide. So these are two separate projects. One gives a more focused list of trials for patients to consider with their doctors for medical input, as well as a system to give them a layperson real-time explanation of the background and literature. And our goal is to have no more deer here, no more deer in the headlights. And with that, I'd like to begin the panel format.
I have looked at the Colon Town Clinic site recently, and there is quite a lively discussion. And without making him blush, Tom is revered by the people on that site for his dedication and his advice. But let me ask you, I guess I'm interested, how many people are actually on that site? And how are there examples where people have really been helped in a concrete way? Perhaps finding a trial that really helped them that they would not have otherwise known about.
Well, currently we have about 800 members of the site. Everyone is active in terms of discussion format. We have a lot of people that are lurkers in Facebook lingo, but that's fine. They're there to learn. We're there to inform them. But we have probably over at least 100 people that are very lively in discussions. In terms of people actively being helped, well, that's a mixture of both the information transfer format as well as the basic science. In terms of people finding trials and joining trials they would never have found before, it happens on a weekly basis where they post thank yous, they find trials, they sign up for them. So I can say that in terms of the members of the site, we have a very high patient participation rate. Obviously, it's biased towards people that are driven towards the site because they have an inherent interest in clinical trials. In terms of successes, colorectal cancer is definitely a tough cancer right now. We do have patients that are currently appearing to be being helped clinically with objective responses, trials they're on, but that's just anecdotal at this point. But certainly at the per patient level, they're ecstatic.
You think had you been more outspoken, you might have helped people get into those trials early. Could you talk to the audience about that?
Sure, I think this is probably an extreme example, but in the stage 4 patient world, there are a lot of message boards online, a lot of support groups, and people talk about everything. They talk about what drugs are on, they talk about CT scan reports, they talk about trials they're joining. And there are a lot of different competing groups, and they're all basically general support groups, so it's a mixture of everything. It's not just clinical trials. And what I, as a scientist, noticed back about 2 years ago now, is that I started noticing that people were self-defining themselves as Lynch syndrome patients or MSI high, which is a small subset of colorectal cancer patients, about 5% at stage 4. And they were self-identifying their genetic background. The stage 4 patients online are actually very well versed, especially if they have a genetic background in Lynch syndrome. And they're mentioning they were on things called PD-1 inhibitors, which they didn't understand the science, but they were having major objective responses in CT scans. And they were very, very excited about it. And as a scientist, I was noticing this, but it was very disorganized and across a lot of different message boards, and it was siloed information. And I noticed it, and I feel guilty about this to this day, but I didn't do anything about it. I was not an active advocate at the time. I was more of a lurker on these message boards. And I started seeing this information at least 6 months before the ASCO 2015 release to the world of the amazing response rates in MSI high colorectal cancer patients to checkpoint inhibitors in the initial phase 1 POC trial that Johns Hopkins did. And so it really occurred to me that that's an extreme example. I think that pops out a little bit easier than it will in general because it's such a high response rate. But I thought about all the patients that were MSI high and Lynch syndrome over those months where I had noticed this anecdotal but a very consistent effect on mine, and it becoming public knowledge. And all the patients that literally died in those months, they could have been potentially shifted over to a phase 1 trial. It had been disseminated in a more coherent fashion, that there was a trend developing that MSI high patients were responding to checkpoint inhibitors. And so I made a personal vow at that point that as a colorectal cancer patient and becoming an advocate, if I had any say in the matter, if I ever saw any such a clear indication in the future, I would make sure that adjunctive responses that are clinically known, CT based, the colorectal cancer community would know about it, so that would not happen again under my watch.
Okay. Yeah, so first of all, Tom, I'm sure that many of those patients probably sought out the studies for themselves. None of us need to take any personal weight of that burden. But for every example that you just said, and it turns out that indeed the response rates and the survival for highly mutated, be it MSI or POLE patients, is indeed remarkable with checkpoint blockade. But I would also say that for every example like that, there are many that have been hyped that really didn't turn out to be very good. And I can certainly think of several in my experience over the last couple of decades in oncology. The hope is that, of course, that we see more of those in the future with immunotherapy, and many of us are biased towards that. But there's been a lot of new treatments that were the next best thing, that were going to cure, whatever cancer. And I would say most of those have not materialized according to the original excitement. So.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and that's why I intentionally said that was probably an extreme example of such a high objective response rate.
Yes, well, I guess there are some issues. Unfortunately, your main oncologist couldn't be here today, but I don't know if the other doctors have any opinion of patients taking this into their own hands, both their own treatment, recommending themselves for clinical trials. And for Tom, I'm also wondering if you've been hit by investors, because the information that people are discussing would have a lot of value. The people who invest in these small biotech companies are looking for every possible scrap of whether a drug is working in a trial or not. I know your group is secret, but I guess I'm wondering if this is an issue you've had to confront.
It's definitely an issue we've certainly thought about, and I personally have never been hit up by an investment group. But we try to hardest to minimize it, where we have a two-step vetting process. And that's one real benefit using Facebook technology, is we have two different people. First of all, people have friends on Facebook, so we get to see their personal wall. And they have got to be a CRC patient or caregiver. And two different people look at the personal wall, and if someone really wanted to fool us and do a very complete fake profile, they had a lot of fake friends and talked about a lot of fake colorectal cancer stories, they could get in. It's not a perfect system, and I'm the first to admit that, but that's what we use to try to minimize the chances of funny business going on.
Yeah, I think this is really laudable, because I think it must be very daunting for patients that are looking at the 1,200 trials and wondering what's relevant. We have this in the MPN group, Mild Clinical Communications, and there's a patient advocacy group where there's also password protected video where they have experts in the field talking about things. But what I've also found is they hear about side effects early, and it can lead to a certain treatment nihilism that's almost like a Lemming effect, where they say, oh, I'm not trying any trials because that one causes nausea, vomiting, diarrhea. Of course, it only lasts 6 weeks, but it turns everybody off. Have you found that kind of effect with this group?
Well, one thing I'd like to point out is that in terms of patients self-reporting trials, in terms of side effects or efficacy, that's actually a very minor component of the group. Really, the main effort of the group is clinical trial information transfer, where once again, it's publications, it's new trial starts coming up, And so I'd say the vast majority of what goes on in the group is actually giving people, through the scientific leadership team, the conversation format information, scientific information, and then giving them the tools to have a more empowered discussion with a medical oncologist. Because they make very clear we do not give medical advice. We're basically a supercharged version of clinicaltrials.gov, where we're giving them information, and we're giving them PDFs they can print out for their oncologist. And then they can go to their oncologist with a relatively small number of trials, with PDFs to print out, and then based on their own medical situation, have a medical discussion with their oncologist. And so the self-reporting of trials, even though it's I guess a little bit sexy, is actually a very minor component of what the system is about.
I would add, I'm part of the group, and I'm a PhD, not an MD, and I make that clear to everybody that I interact with. But what I can say is that there's two different pressures here. There is that of science and clinical science. The only way a trial can be judged successful is a very dispassionate, blinded, and placebo-controlled trial. And I know that, and I make that clear to everybody there. However, people with cancer have a completely different imperative, and my life, in my view, has been changed by dealing with patients. And they need something now, not later. And the real possibility of this Lemming effect of everybody going, well, Joe feels great after his third dose of this drug, is real and dangerous. And I know that if Tony were here, he would speak to this. But again, we can't be using anecdotal data. And the best outcome of clinical trials, of Colontown, is empowering the patient. Because we're all very lucky. We're in a major research hospital, a teaching hospital, a comprehensive cancer center. Somebody who's in the middle of the country who has a community oncologist who might not know about what's really current, they should have access to that. That's a very important thing. I've encountered a patient there who was clearly MSI high, had a lot of mutations, and didn't know that checkpoint was something that was really working for those patients. So just putting 1 + 1 and then allowing them to talk to their oncologist is, I think, the very best outcome, the very best benefit. I also end up discussing the mechanisms of checkpoint blockade, hot tumors versus cold tumors. And this really brings great comfort in a way that you can't put a chi-squared figure on to people out there. And I think it's very important. And the model that we're talking about here is applicable basically to any cancer.
I was about to ask that, but Tom, as a patient with a terminal disease, right now, so-called right-to-try laws have been passed in more than 30 states, which allow patients to bypass the FDA and get an experimental drug if the drug company wants them to have it, as long as the drug's gone through a phase 1 basic safety trial. Governor Brown vetoed such a bill in 2015 and then signed it the next year. So California is one of those states. Now there's regulation, there's a bill at the federal level. I'm just interested in what you think of these right-to-try laws. Does the FDA need to be involved in a patient accessing an experimental drug? Or should, and more generally, I mean, should patients who are facing death, might have little to lose, should they be allowed to basically try anything they want?
Thanks for the easy question. I think I'm not an expert at all the intricacies of the different various potential laws. I think the devil's in the details. I have to say here I wear two different hats. I'm a scientist and a currently incurable patient. I am currently chemo-resistant. I need clinical trials or experimental therapeutics. As a scientist, I recognize all the inherent dangers. But as a patient who is really facing a dire prognosis, I'll be upfront with that and very open with that, and seeing close friends of mine die on an almost daily basis, it changes your viewpoint. And so I think they would have to be well-crafted, and I'm not sure how to answer the question what well-crafted means, because I know there are a lot of issues. But in general, I am, as a patient, supportive of right to try.
In that study. And just to be tangential for a second, That's where I think industry could really help with clinical trials, at least from a clinical researcher perspective. Many of these studies are incredibly restricted in terms of the patients that are being sought. For instance, some of the rules really make absolutely no sense. We have several trials in head and neck cancer that require a specific prior therapy. A prior therapy that has nothing to do with the science of the agent being studied. It has only to do with really some archaic regulations that stem from prior work in head and neck cancer, but have nothing to do with the activity of the drug or the potential activity of the drug being studied. Another area that bothers me is QT interval. So for many drugs that we look at, they have no chance of prolonging the QT, but because people don't want to take that risk or take that chance, or the company doesn't want to do the appropriate studies, they will automatically exclude everybody with a QT greater than 450 milliseconds, and there is no science, I can tell you. Be happy to have that discussion with anybody that wants to challenge that, but there is no science to support that type of eligibility criterion. So to answer the first question, industry could really help us there by making rules that make sense. Then, after the screening, the patient would then usually have a series of tests as baseline tests, first to make sure eligibility, and second to establish baseline, say, tumor measurements or whatever the endpoint is, and then they would enroll and start therapy.
Yes, for 5 seconds, I'd like to really reiterate the exclusion criteria. I wish I had done that.
Yours is a great example.
Yeah.
Tell them yours.
I signed up for a clinical trial 2 years ago, and about 2 weeks before I was supposed to start it, I had a surprise stage 1 melanoma diagnosis. It had a 98% cure rate with surgery, but excludes me from a large majority of clinical trials. And so ironically, I'm running this group, and I'm not eligible for most clinical trials. But in a broader sense, exclusion criteria are a huge issue for patients. I feel bad that I didn't mention it, but thank you for bringing it up. And it's a real source of contention with patients, because even as non-scientists, they can see some of them are just silly. And when someone's in a life-or-death situation, it's not silly.
More sites, more trial sites is going to make the difference. More geographically dispersed trial sites. Dan had a question.
So yeah, well, I had a question. This is really a tremendous initiative, but thanks. We know because it's on the internet, it's got to be true. So how do you deal with there's the good side of this, but there has to be a lot of proposed trials. Say somebody wants to get Laetrile in Mexico for their tumor, things that are not controlled and not reputable, and how is that sort of brought onto this group? Because I've had this experience, I'm not involved in this type of cancer, but for stem cell therapies, and people will say, I want to get some sort of stem cell therapy for, an incurable disease, and why not do it? What can it possibly hurt? Even though it's not something that really makes a lot of sense or isn't being done by a reputable center.
Yeah, it comes down to basically having a very strong admin team. And I'll be frank, I roll with kind of the iron fist. So nothing goes on that site unless it has an MCT number, registered clinical trial, IRB approved. We are very focused. We do not do, there's a lot of places on the web where people can look up supplements and talk about supplements and alternative therapies. Within the Coletown Clinic, it is only clinical trials and only ones that are registered and IRB approved. And as admins, we quickly delete anything that gets posted other than that.
You could have thrown it. She's a great, she's like professional baseball.
10, 15 years ago, we had the Cancer Information Service nationwide, and one of their roles was to raise the nation's awareness of the importance of clinical trials. They had a phone line that you could call, your local group would help you sort out all the different trials, and it was unceremoniously disbanded, and it was a tragedy for the country. You have data that would be very helpful in trying to raise awareness of the need to bring back the Cancer Information Service, or an equivalent of it. because you're a shoestring operation. There are lots of other cancers, there are orphan disease cancers, you can't possibly serve all of them, and then we also risk burnout. We need to get a bigger pot of money to help us solve this problem, because it's not just colon cancer patients, it's every patient with cancer needs this kind of supportive care and vigilant guidance. Can you give us hope that maybe you'll share some of your experiential data with Joe Biden and his team and get the moonshot to help us get patients onto trials?
Well, I agree completely with you. In terms of, I have not met Joe Biden, unfortunately, I'd love to. Within the stage 4 activist realm, a lot of activists know each other across, no matter what the ribbon color is. And so we kind of see what each other are doing. We all have our individual great ideas. And so people with other, activists from other cancer types are noticing. A wonderful activist that was actually at the symposium last year, Corey Painter, just recently, she was activist in metastatic breast cancer and angiosarcoma. She recently organized a teleconference with NCI, with me and a number of other activists of various cancer types, and where we discussed our various ideas. And representing colorectal cancer in the clinic is one of the things I really talked about. Definitely, I think getting a lot of attention, and I think social media has really facilitated this immensely. I'm not a shareholder in Facebook, but I think it really is amazing technology for information transfer. And so I've had talks with AACR, I've had talks with NCI, there's a lot of information. We were at MC Nightly News recently, getting a lot of attention. And so people are starting to notice, and I hope that, as you said, that it causes an explosion and a relook at various variations of it. I'm not saying this is the perfect way to do it. It's just one way we kind of stumbled in on in colorectal cancer. But it's a general mindset that can be applied to all cancer types. I agree with you.
Charles, we have a gentleman in the back.
Yeah, shifting back to the issue of should be able to get a drug if you're going to die, I certainly support it. I find it strange that states don't. The major problem usually is the drug company won't give it to you because they're really worried about what's going to happen. I'm biased because my wife, 16 years ago, was told she had no chance. I happen to know of the drug, which I could go make myself. I did. She's alive today. But to tell my wife, no, and by the way, I didn't tell any of the doctors treating her at the time. I didn't know what the rules were. Turned out later, no one cared. But why any person who thinks they're going to die can't get a drug and try it, that's what translational medicine is really all about nowadays. Just go ahead and try things, find out what happens. We need more of that.
I'm curious, from an oncologist's point of view, the more educated your patients are and sort of are suggesting their own treatment, how do you deal with that? And that could be complicated also, but also very interesting and important. And it might be that in the future, it's more and more the patient actually driving their own treatment.
So my guess is that if you ask 10 different oncologists that same question, you'll probably get 5 or 6 different answers. But I actually love it. I favor it. I think the more educated patients can become, the better. The better for them, the better for me. I can think of many examples where a patient has thought of something that I have not, and it was a great idea. And so I don't pretend to, know everything or, be omnipotent. So I think the more educated the patient can become, the better. You're right. Now in really the information age or the ultra information age, patients, and of course this is biased by the fact that we work in a tertiary care NCI designated cancer center, but I think certainly over the last 20 years that I've been in oncology, patients are coming with much more information than they were even a few years ago, and I see that as a positive thing. I really do.
Can I just add another question on top of that? It's sort of biomarkers will become really even more and more important, and the ability to multiplex or basically measure a lot of markers at the same time to decide between treatments. So in some ways, how could maybe data sharing, social media, and companies all figure out?
Yeah, and that's already happening. NGS panels, next generation sequencing panels, there are multiple ones that are commercially available, and this may sound inappropriate, but their price is really now not prohibitive for many of them. That of course depends on many factors, but they're getting to be within the reach of the most consumers, and so especially people with a life-threatening disease, and right away you're getting 300 to 400 biomarkers at least assessed, with many of them being positive. That's a whole panel on its own, but I'll be very brief in saying I think what you'll see is more and more things like what we created called the Molecular Tumor Board, that is designed to do exactly that. Look at the biomarkers that have been assessed in an individual patient in the context of what's going on with them clinically, pathologically, radiographically, and try to come up with therapeutic avenues that make the most sense. It does get very complicated. Those assessments or those analytics are far too complicated for most patients. I would say 99% of patients. They're probably too complicated for most oncologists, and that's a challenge. But I think the way to tackle it is to work within a team.
I just wanted to get back to something that used to exist as well, or at least be a lot stronger, and that was CTEP, where drug companies could deposit drugs where they may not have worked in a particular indication, but they may work in something else. So I think to incentivize investigators to get back working on that by providing funding, it could be a tripartite funding structure where we have industry helping to co-fund that grant together with NIH, maybe through the Moonshot, maybe through precision medicine or even regenerative medicine. There are 3 different things that could apply. So I think this as a lobby group could be very useful. And then having groups like AACR and in our case it's the Leukemia Lymphoma Society felt to raise funding to get people on trials that wouldn't have qualified otherwise. So I think what you're doing is really important.
Similar to RAID, which we don't have anymore either.
Yeah.
Similar to the RAID program, which we don't have anymore either.
And so we'll almost stop with that, but I'm very impressed with the team effort here. Knowing what's going on behind the scenes, and Steve is here. I'm really curious to know what you do with cancer being an immune disease and how you address that, and what can we hope for in the future.
Okay. I'll try and be brief as well. There's 3 different base pairs in the human genome. Basically, we have, together with Ezra and Dan and other scientists who are in this room, we're very much taking a sequencing approach to identifying all the somatic mutations in a given patient's cancer, and then what subset of those are actually recognized by the patient's immune system and validate them as neoantigens. And the idea broadly is that your cancer can be distinguished from the normal cells from which it arose by virtue of immune recognition of the somatic mutations. This again is the concept of neoantigens. And it's something that has been done in mice and in men, and there's a lot of different areas of immunotherapy and vaccines and cellular therapies. And it's something that we're doing here in San Diego with a particular approach of an unbiased approach. And it's the greatest statement in support of empiricism, because we're not trying to guess what's there, we're really verifying what that patient has responded to, and then trying to boost those through various ways. So there's a GMP lab at the Calm that is going to be delivering cellular products based on neoantigens, and as well as an NK product and all sorts of stem cell based products. Dan, who asked a question in the back there, Dan Kaufman, is the medical and scientific director of that. But basically, to give a short answer to your question, is we are looking at cancers whose mutational burden was so low that it would be considered to be intractable, not amenable to an immune approach. And in fact, using these different approaches, it is, and we can do it, and we're very excited, and filing INDs now and hoping to deliver therapeutics to patients within this calendar year. There, I've set a very ambitious goal for you.